Tükürme istemek. In this video, we will dive into the movie Lucy. We will discuss the movie story, summarize the plot, and explore the cast and characters. Additionally, we will cover the movie's production details and box office performance. Finally, we'll provide a review and share some personal reactions. Let's begin with the movie story. We see a cell split up into multiple other cells. Then we see a chimp in periodic times drinking from a lake. Lucy, played by Scarlett Johansson, says that life began billion of years ago and ponders just what we have done what it since then. In the present, Lucy is outside a hotel in Taiwan with her week-long boyfriend Richard, played by Min-sik. He is asking her to take a briefcase up to the room of a Mr. Zhang. She refuses to do anything for Richard without knowing what is that he wants her to deliver. So he handcuffs Lucy Rest to the handle of the briefcase, leaving her with no choice. She enters the lobby and tells the clerk that Richard is sending her up to Zhang, and then nervously gives her name to the clerk. Lucy looks out the window to see Richard smiling and trying to be encouraging until he is shot and killed. A group of thugs come out of the elevator and forces Lucy to go up with them. This scene is juxtaposed with footage of a cheetah chasing a gazelle, mauling it and then carrying the gazelle corpse in its teeth. They take Lucy to Zhang's apartment. There are bloody scars on the floor, causing Lucy to vomit. Zhang camps out with his hands soaked in blood. He rings up a man on the phone to translate for Lucy. She cries, not knowing what is going on or why any of this is happening. Zhang writes down number on a piece of a paper, which is the code to open the briefcase. Zhang steps into the next room while his men arm themselves with guns and shields. Lucy opens the briefcase, which contains 4 bags of blue powdered substances. Zhang brings in a dragged up man to shot some of the blue powder. The man briefly convulses and then starts laughing manically until Zhang shoots him in the head. Lucy is then ordered to do a job which she refuses to do until she gets smacked. Lucy wakes up in a hotel room. There is a pancake on her stomach. Zhang's men come in and throw her some clothes. She is taken to a Zhang along with 3 other men. A British man known as the Min-sik comes in to explain to Lucy that she and the other men have had a drug called CPH4 stuffed into their lower intestines. The drug is supposed to be the next big things on the market and they intend to smuggle it across the world. Afterwards, Lucy is taken to a room and chained up where one of the thugs starts kicking her in the stomach right where they cut into her. This causes a tear in the drug bag, leaking the powder into Lucy's system. She begins to run and trash all across the room, even reaching up to the ceiling until she falls back down to the floor. As all of this happens, we meet Professor Samuel Norman, played by Morgan Freeman, giving a lecture to a classroom on his research of the brain's capacity. He essentially explained that could happen if humans could exceed beyond the suggested 10% brain capacity that they use, as well as it respond to certain environment that would allow the brain to vomit to immortality or reproduction. Basically, if the subject doesn't like their environment, they would choose immortality and move elsewhere. But if they were happy with their setting, they would be inclined to produce complete with image of every species engaging in intercourse. If say humans could reach up to 40%, they could manipulate matter, which a magic show to juxtapose here as an example. One student asked Norman that what would happen if humans reach 100%. He says he has no idea. Lucy reawakens with her eyes glowing bright blue. She sits upright, calmer than before. A thug comes into the room and Lucy spreads her legs to tempt her. The thug smiles and lays down his gun on the table. As he walks over to her, Lucy grabs his belt and flicks him over, then pulls the table over to take the gun. After she frees herself, she shoots the other thugs as they are eating. She gets shot in the shoulder but is able to take the bullet out without feeling pain. She then eats all the thugs' food before leaving. She finds 2 men outside and gets one of them to take her to the hospital. On her way to the hospital, Lucy is able to hear people's voices from outside the car. When she gets to the hospital, she is able to clearly read the sign as if they were in English to her. She gets to an operating room where doctors are working on a man. Lucy looks at the patient X-ray scans and then shoots the man, stating to the doctors that they would not have been able to save him because the tumor in his brain had already spread far enough. She forces the doctor to take the bag out of her stomach. She then calls her mother to tell her that she feels everything, the air, the blood in her veins, the heat leaving her body, and is even able to access the deepest part of her memories, like when she was sick as a child or even putting a cat when she was barely a year old. She tells her mother that she loves her before hanging up. The doctor pulls the bag of drug out of Lucy's stomach, and after she tells him that it's CPH4, he tells her that this is something that pregnant women produce 6 weeks into this pregnancy as nutrients for the fetus, and the doctor is surprised Lucy has survived this long with it in her body. Lucy makes one more stop back to the hotel to find Jang as he is in the middle of getting a tattoo and a facial. She kills his guards and then shoos the tattoo artist away before sticking knives in both of Jang's hands. With her newfound powers, she taps into the brain and sees where the other 3 drug mules are going based on image their plane tickets. She leaves and Jang lets out a spent scream. Lucy goes to the apartment of her friend Caroline, played by Anneliek Tipton, to use her laptop. She reads all of Norman's research in a matter of seconds and contacts him to tell him what she has read. He is astonished to hear that she read everything, even as she continues to explain what she is feeling and experiencing now that she has reached up to 20% brain capacity. She is able to manipulate electronics, making her appearances on the TV in Norman's hotel room, as well as his phone and as the rodeo. She planned to meet him in 12 hours. Before leaving, she prints out a prescription for Caroline, telling her that her liver and kidney are failing and that she needs to make new lifestyle choices and she will be okay. The news about Lucy shooting the patient had spread, so as she makes her way through the airport, she changes her hair color and style. She calls a French policeman, Captain Pierre Del Rio, played by AMR Vecht, to inform him of the other drug moles. She then boards the plane and continues her research on the brain. Tapping on her laptop at rapid fire pace, the flight attendant asks her to turn off her laptop, and Lucy asks for a glass of champagne while also telling on flight attendant to wipe her nose without looking, and the lady nosebleed after Lucy is given the champagne glass and toast to knowledge. She sips and then 40% flashes on screen. She discovers a tooth in her glass and then she picks up 3 more teeth. Then her skin starts to disintegrate in plain sight of the passengers and flight attendants. Lucy runs to the bathroom where her fingers start to disappear and her face begins to sort of melt. She pulls out the rest of the CPH4 and snorts it, restoring herself to normal, but she passes out. Lucy wakes up in a hospital room with Del Rio and a few other officers and doctors waiting. Right after they have apprehended the other moles, she sets up instantly to the alarm of the nurse. Meanwhile, one of Chang's henchmen, G, comes in with more armed men to find the other moles. They take them into a room and cut the drugs out of them after killing them. Lucy leaves the room as is surrounded by armed men. With a wave of her fingers, she is able to put them all to sleep, except for Del Rio. Together they fight Chang's men, and with her brain function now at 60%, she moves them around the hall and prevents G from escaping with the briefcase full of drugs by creating a sort of invisible wall. She swipes the drug from G and starts to leave, but orders Del Rio to go with her. She thinks he is of no use to her, but she walks over to him and kisses him, asking him to come as a reminder. Lucy uses her power to find a new location, taking over Del Rio's car and driving manically through the street, admitting she is never driven before Chang and G follow her. Lucy and Del Rio finds Norman and his colleagues in a university, where she begins to develop all she has come to realize, with her brain power now exceeding that of a normal human being. While this happens, Jang and his men infiltrate the place and start shooting. Lucy gives the rest of the CPH4 to the professors of them to synthesize into a liquid material that goes into her bloodstream. Her brain function goes to 70% and her hands start to turn into a black wormy sort of goo that attach itself to the computers in the room, giving Lucy more energy from matter and therapy, supplying her with an insane amount of power. As her brain function continues to increase, she manipulates matter in such a way that she seems to erase everything in the room, leaving the professor standing in white space before creating some kind of a new age supercomputer before their eyes. From outside, as Jiang's men are shot down by the police, he orders Ji to do something. Ji takes a rocket launcher and blasts through the room, sending Lucy thousands of miles to Times Square. She managed to move time with a wave of her hand. She traveled backward from early 20th century New York to colonial times, even all the way to prehistoric time to come face to face with the chimp from the opening scene. They touch fingers, sending Lucy through the cosmos and all of space and time, giving her ultimate and infinite power. Jiang enters the room and slowly rises his gun to Lucy's head, and then she reaches 100%. Her body disappears, leaving her clothes behind. Jiang fires his gun at nothing. Del Rio comes in and shoots Jiang to death. The black matter in the room disappears and morphs into a flash drive that lands in Norman's hand, thus expanding and completing his research. Del Rio asks where Lucy is. A message appears on his phone saying, "I am everywhere." The film concludes with an overhead shot of Jiang's corpse while Lucy's voice says, "This is what can be done with life." Now let's talk about the biography of the main cast. The first one is Scarlett Johansson. Born November 22, 1984, New York City, New York, is an American actress and singer whose acting range earned her popular acclaim in a variety of genres from period drama to thrill and action adventure. Johansson, daughter of an architect and a producer, was raised in New York City. She and her twin brother Hunter are the youngest of four siblings. She developed an interest in acting at a young age, auditioning for commercials by age 7. Soon after, she enrolled at the Lee Starbucks Theatre Institute and later attended the Professional Children's School in Manhattan to further hone her craft. At age 8, she appears alongside Ethan Hawke in the off-Broadway production Sophistry. At 9, she made her film debut in Drop Rain North 1994. Johansson subsequently appeared in Just Cause 1995, but her first breakthrough came with Mummy and Lord 1996, a film-of-age film about orphan sisters who run away. She next earned critical acclaim for her role as a teenager who has suffered a disgorging accident in The Horse Whisperer 1998, and she gained further attention as cynical teen outcast Rebecca in Ghost War 2001. Johansson came into her own playing more adult roles, notably that the Delicious Chocolate of Woman, bored with her life and her marriage, who starts complicated relationship with a middle-aged man played by Bill Body in Lost in Translation 2003, and Gride, a housemaid who bewitches painted Johannes Weimer Colin Firth in the historical drama Girl with a Period Learning 2003. In 2001, she appeared to critical acclaim in director Woody Allen's Match Band, and she later started in her films Cop 2006 and Vicky Cristina Barcelona 2008. Also in 2005, she co-starred in her first big-budget action movie The Island alongside Ewan McGregor. Johansson continued to explore her acting range in the period drama The Other Wild Card 2008, the romantic comedy He Is Just Not That Into You 2009, and the hard-working drama We Bought a Zoo 2011. In 2010, she made her Broadway debut in A View from the Brick and won a Tony Award for Best Actress. The same year, she appeared in the action film Iron Man 2 as Natasha Romanoff, a secret agent otherwise known as the Black Widow, a role she went on to reprise in the superhero blockbuster The Avengers 2012, Captain America The Winter Soldier 2014, Avenger Age of Ultron 2015, Captain America Civil War 2016, Avengers Infinity War 2018, Avenger Endgame 2019, and Black Widow 2021. She switches gear completely at the end of 2012, portraying actress Janet Leigh in the biopic Hitchcock. In 2013, Johansson returned to the Broadway stage in a rival production of Tennessee Williams Poulater's prize-winning Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Later that year, she started as a woman dating a man who is addicted to pornography in the romantic comedy Don John and provided the voice of a essential computer operating system in director Spike Jonze's romance Her. She played a mysterious alien who drives around Glasgow and abducts men in Under the Skin 2013, a kind-hearted restaurant hostess in Chef 2014, a woman who developed superpowers after a mind-expanding drug enters her system in Lucy 2014, and a starlet in the Coen Brothers comedy Hail Caesar 2016. Johansson 2017 credit including Ghost in the Shell, in which she portrayed a cyborg woman who battles criminal, and Rough Night, a comedy about a bachelorette party. 2 years later, she played a woman harboring a Jewish girl in the Nazi stare, Jojo Rabbit, and a woman undergoing a divorce in Marriage Story. Her performances earned Johansson her first Academy Award nomination. For the former film, she receives a nod for supporting actresses, and the latter movie needed her a lead actress's nomination. In addition, Johansson lent her throaty voice to a number of characters, including a computer-animated version of the Snake Car in a live-action adaptation of Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book 2016, and an alternative rock singing program in the animated family film Sing 2016 and its sequel 2021. In 2018, she voiced as alluring Conan in Wes Anderson's animated feature Isle of Dogs. Johansson also pursued opportunity aside from acting. After appearing on a charity album of a star-studded song covers in 2006 and making a brief appearance singing backing vocal for the G's and Mary Chain at 2007 Coachella Music Festival, she released her first album, a collection of Tom Waits covers called Anywhere I Lay My Head in 2008. The following year, she released an album of duets with Pete Jorn called Break Up. The pair released the EP Apart in 2018. The second main character is Morgan Freeman. Born June 1, 1937, Memphis, Tennessee, US, is an American actor who emotional depth, subtle humor, and versatility make him one of the most respected performers of his generation. Over a career that includes numerous memorable performances on stage, screen, and television, Freeman is one of the few African American actors who has constantly performed in roles not specifically written for black actors. As a young man, Freeman had aspirations of being a fighter pilot. However, a stint in the US Air Force 1955 to 59 proved disappointing, and he turned his attention to acting. He made his Broadway debut in all-black production of Hello Dolly in 1967. In the 1970s, he continued to work on the stage and also appeared on the educational children's television show The Electric Company as the character Easy Rider. Freeman is performing in the film Brubaker 1980 and on the soap opera Another World 1982 to 84, along with several enthusiastic reviews for his theatrical work in the early 1980s led to more challenging film role. Freeman's portrayal of a dangerous hustler in Street Smart 1987 earned him his first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was later nominated for a Best Actor Oscar for his work in Driving Miss Daisy 1989, in which he recreated the role of Hawk after first performing in On Stage. He envisaged a disciplinary principal in Lone on Me 1989, a hard-hearted Civil War soldier in Glory 1989, and an aging gasoliner in Unforgiven 1992. He made his directorial debut with the anti-apartheid film Buffa 1993. A third Oscar nomination came for his sole turn a convict in The Shawshank Redemption 1994. Freeman later appeared in several crime dramas including Seven 1995, Kiss the Girl 1997, and Along Came a Spider 2001, the latter two based on a James Peterson novel, as well as The Sum of All Fears 2002. He won an Academy Award for the Best Supporting Actor for his performance as a former boxer in Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby 2004 before appearing as Lucius Fox, a researcher and development guru in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins 2005. Freeman reprised the latter role in the sequel The Dark Knight 2008 and The Dark Knight Rise 2012. In Rob Reigns' The Blacklist 2007, and he and Jack Nicholson played terminally ill cancer patients who make the most of their remaining time. In 2008, Freeman returned to the Broadway after nearly 20 years away from the stage, taking the role of a Frank Elegant, a talented yet dispirited actor who has lost the will to perform. In The Country Car, the following year, he re-teamed with Eastwood on Invictus, a drama in which he played Nelson Mandela, who sought to divide South Africa by spotting the national rugby team's quest and win the 1995 World Cup. Freeman later appeared as a former CIA agent in the action comedy Red 2010, as a high-ranking US politician in the thrilled Olympic Has Fallen 2013, and his sequel London Has Fallen 2016 and Angel Has Fallen 2019, and as a post-apocalyptic survivalist in the science fiction action Oblivion 2013. He also played a magician who exposes the tradecraft of his conference in Now You See Me 2013 and its 2016 sequel. Freeman pursued less suspenseful fare as well as with the roles in the sentimental drama Dolphin Tale 2011 and its sequel Dolphin Tale 2 2014, and in The Magic of Belle Isle 2012. Freeman met for laughs in the body comedy Las Vegas 2013, in which he started opposite Robert De Niro, Michael Douglas, and Kevin Kline. Her later voiced a wizard in the Lego Movie 2014, a computer-animated adventure featuring rendering of Lego toys as the character and setting. His other role in 2014 include an anti-artificial intelligence archivist in The Transcendence and a scholarship professor in Lucy. Freeman also appeared in the comedy Stid 2 2015, Gangnam Style 2017, a remake of the 1979 about a retrieve who plan a bank heist, a Just Getting Started 2017, in which two rivals at a retirement community team up to save the women of both their affection from her kidnapper. Freeman portrayed the toy maker Dross Miller in The Nutcracker and The Four Rom 2018, an adaptation of the Peter Lillich 19th century ballad. The Comeback Trial 2020, Freeman started with the De Niro and Tommy Lee Jones and was cast as a mob boss. His credits from 2021 include the crime thrill Vanquish, the action comedy The Hitman's Wife Bodyguard, and the sci-fi anthology TV series Solos. He started in the movies Paradise Highway and The Minute You Wake Up Dead, both released in 2022. Freeman's numerous awards include a Kennedy Center award in 2008 and the Cecil B. DeMille Award, a Golden Globe for Lifetime Achievement in 2012. He also won a Lifetime Achievement Award for the Screen Actor Guild in 2018. The anticipated sequel to Scarlett Johansson's sci-fi thriller Lucy could only happen under one condition made difficult thanks to the ending of the original movie. Directed by Luc Besson, the 2014 thriller depicted Johansson as the titular character who accidentally developed telekinesis power while being forced to work on a drug mule. As she develops her new skills, she is assisted by a professor and chased by a drug lord who wants her power for himself. Lucy receives positive reviews upon release and proved a success at the box office, grossing more than $469 million worldwide. A follow-up Lucy has been anticipated since the movie's release in 2014. However, a decade has gone by since it hit theater, and the hypothetical Lucy 2 is nowhere to be seen. Director Luc Besson has been open about the struggle to create a sequel to the Lucy in his inability to connect to the project. While there is still hope for a sequel to the sci-fi movie, there is one crucial element that is required for it to be as successful as the original. Lucy 2 should only happen if Scarlett Johansson returned. In 2015, it was announced that Lucy 2 was in development, but this movie has not come to fruition since then. Plans for Lucy 2 are still under debate. No update about the sequel have been released since 2017. Lucy movie review. Luc Besson's new film Lucy often feels like 10% of a movie despite its very clear ambition to be some sort of ultimate experience, which is weird about it nails so many of its objectives. It's greatly short, it's incredibly kinetic, and Even when it's not in the middle of an action scene, its style is static. Scarlett Johansson throws everything she has into the role, or at least give the role everything it requires of her. And yet I had to do everything I could to keep from falling asleep during the film's tragic first act. That's unfair considering the fact that Lucy wastes absolutely no time getting started. The film hits the ground running when Johansson's retro character is dropped into a basal drug deal by a sweetie, shady boyfriend she is only known for a week. An American student studying abroad in Taipei, she is the outcome of a normal person thrust into an impossible circumstance when the deal goes sour and she wakes up with a plastic bag of blue powder inside her abdomen. The power happens to be a synthetic drug modeled upon a naturally occurring chemical compound that mothers pass along to their fetuses in order to kickstart their development. And when that bag starts to leak, it gives Lucy access to more than 10% of her brain. When that happens, she is well on her way to becoming a god that can control pretty much everything, which provides later in the way of conflict. When your protagonist is all seeing, all knowing, and all powerful, there's never really a moment when all the chips are down. While all of this is going on, Morgan Freeman's character is giving a lecture to a group of students in Paris that just happened to dovetail thematically into the expansions Lucy's brain is undergoing. I applaud the Besson, who also wrote the film, simply doesn't care that his central synthetic conceit humans only use 10% of their brain is considered and across the border flashed by the synthetic community. Her insists that Freeman delivered this nonsense seriously. Like most of the documentaries he's involved with, Freeman basically serves as a narrator of the first half of the film, explaining each development in Lucy's brain as she experiencing it. For a while, I was excited by the meta aspect of his basically narrating the entire movie, but eventually he sprayed into the main story of an unnecessary contrivance. It doesn't help that Lucy is flat out dumb. The film is basically Crank doing a cover song of 2001, and why I am glad that the movie is aware of its role as ace entertainment. It seems to know that even its ethereal National Geographic cutaway are utterly meaningless. I wish it was more successful in its present attempt to thrill, but we have seen everything there before, both in the film's trailer and in other better movies. The film has almost every bit of eye candy imaginable, but fails utterly to make you care about what's happening. Attractive but not intelligent and good looking with nothing to say, Lucy is the high school crush that grew up to be rather boring indeed. There's a lot of talk in Lucy about humans only using 10% of their brain. This is not an oft-repeated math that drives cymatics as up a wall, but I'd like to believe it's a coded message from Luc Besson. Please, for your own sake, the explorers, don't think too much about this movie. Instead, soak up Scarlett Johansson in a white t-shirt and black bra, making casual faces while dispatching bad guys with the power of her mind and a few quote award in the trademark husky voice. As the techno-scientific thrums and Juko cranks out lines like infinite components of the cell's nuclear and exploding inside my brain, many may recognize that this style of pseudo-intellectual action cinema is a type of drug, and once in a while you need a hit. Johansson, despite being 29, plays an American student living in the Taipei. Some sketchy dude she just started dating wants her to bring a locked briefcase to a mysterious Mr. King in a hotel. Clearly this is not a wise move, but in case we were not aware of that fact, we are giving jarring cuts to the image of a mouse approaching a trap and of an animal on the savanna chasing out their safety. These juxtapositions are just an inkling of what's to come, so we later get full blast of Koyanskisty eco montage, ranging from dinosaurs to busy urban centers to Renois making love. These images mostly come as Professor Norman, played by Morgan Freeman, gives a lecture about what would happen if a human had access to a higher percentage of their brain, which just so happened to describe what is happening to Lucy at the very moment. Lucy, you see, has been made an invented mule for a new narcotic. When Mr. Kong's bodies get a hold of her, she's knocked out and gets CPH4 interested in her belly. It's a bag of crystal that kinda look like a blue version of the fancy overpriced sauce you have always wanted to buy from Dean and DeLuca. But some would be monsters and end up beating her. The substance leak into her bloodstream and boom, a new superhero is born. The first two-thirds of the 90s-made film are proplet and fun. Lucy is driven to a little vengeance but is also on the hunt of the other bag of the drugs. Yusu CPH4 is a naturally occurring substance of during pregnancy. It's what help out bones grow, says a character who may as well be named Dr. Exposition. Since Lucy has malined the stuff, her brain power is now escalating from the typical 10% and with it comes with all sort of magical powers. She can manipulate phone lines, make people levitate and type at supersonic speeds, but she also knows that she is only survived for a few more hours. How does she know that? She is using a larger percentage of her brain. She knows things. She'll need the additional crystal to reach the full 100% and transcend and hopefully give Freeman the knowledge that humankind seek. The end of the movie goes completely off the race but in the way that is charming in its stupidity. It's like 2001 Space Odyssey for those with short attention span and those people need to have their minds blown too, I suppose. Unfortunately, when Lucy heads toward her satellite breakout and the screenplay stakes are raised, there's a piece of action and Korean bodies fighting French cop that completely worthless. Basically everything that isn't Scarlett busting martial arts with telekinesis or penetrating time and space with her glowering eyes just dies on the screen. There the action comes to Besson's native France in marvelous as it affords the film a rather messy car chase through the first aeromed mist. Johansson interrupts the action with Vigo psychological missiles like "We never really die." These blatant lowest common denominator moments mixed with a twinge of deep meaning is, I feel, the essence of Besson. It isn't saying much given that he has been up to lately, but it's fair to call this his finest work since The Fifth Element. Some in the audience will hiss who as the film fades through black, but I'll argue that the preposterous conclusion, oh just wait until we see the Morgan Freeman is left holding in the last scene, representing a genuine ornate leaving us with his poor sentiments. I cannot imagine that Boston actually believes this movie makes sense, but theirs is an authenticity to this overreaching that adds a speckle not seen in typical comic book movie fare. Even with only 10% of my brain, I can see that while this movie is not what I typically call good, it is unbearable, enjoyable mindlessness. Imagine a stranger in a struggle and revenge thrilled about a wide-eyed Anglo bombshell Scarlett Johansson who gets kidnapped and abused in Taiwan by nasty, sweetie-shorting Korean gangster and then escaped to seek justice. This imagine is this movie just starting, so you see a lightning fast kickboxer who can knock a dozen opponent teeth out before they can raise a single fist. Now imagine this movie just injected with a dose of apocalyptic science fiction with the women gaining strange power as the story unfolds. The Envision Midnight Movies touches mixes into the filmmaking, flashcards of predator and prey, enhancing otherwise typical scene of plants being hatched. Monologue about brain capacity and the true meaning of time coupled with pathetic version and wormholes and planetary objective materializing from thin air. That's Los Beatles Lucy, a tale about an American woman who gets kidnapped into service as a truck mule bearing an experimental static hormone, accidentally absorbs some of it and then shares her physically, intellectual and perceptual limitation. I could describe 5 or 6 other kind of movies that in same way also echo Lucy. Sections may remind you of original The Matrix and the last hour of Akira, and the final 10 minutes like you are great hits of science fiction trip movies. You have seen a lot of the individual station and filmmaking techniques in Lucy as well. In fact, you had a hard press to identify one idea scene or element in the picture that is not a glitch. But the total package feels fresh from the minute that Johansson's little character suffers a beating incapacity that ruptures the drugs in her stomach and releases him into her bloodstream. The film enters a realm of continued delight through a lot always surprise. There's no pen naming any of other major character, as there really are no one character, only types the arrogant fat cat drug dealer who thinks he can control the short blunt drug mule and learns the hard way that he cannot, the brilliant deep wise scientist Morgan Freeman whose theoretical studies of the human brain untapped potential make him an informational source, and then finally a kind of partner savior to Lucy, the handsome nice guy Persian cop Wake, who assists Lucy during her climatic mission to acquire more of the experimental hormone to ingest and become whatever it is that she is becoming, her 1950 sacrifice monster, probably the kind that cannot be killed because everything you shoot at it makes it stronger and hungrier. Lucy is little more than a type herself, a representative of humanity in its unmutated, non-super state. Johansson's mid-career transformation from husky-voiced imagine to intensity physical mutant idol is one of the more fascinating arcs in American cinema. It's only her control over her body, voice and eyes, and maybe our awareness that her performances in this movie, her and Under the Skin, are all of a piece. Lucy even uses the phrase under the skin at one point that stops Lucy from being tiresome. Her work keeps us from realizing the Boston script has pushed the chance to tell a deeper story, one that not just bombastically exciting and superficially clever but quietly tragic. Lucy starts with shots of the prehistoric ape woman Lucy and preterally returns to her throughout the story, not too subtly comparing the heroine transformation to that of the spacek itself, from evolution to revelation to quite one of the script's more poignant phrases. And yet there are only two moments that make us really understand and emphasize with Lucy as something other than a cipher who represents the uninvolved human. One is an alien scene of her being terrorized and abused by Taiwanese drug thugs. Lucy's object helpless here is hard to watch. The other occurs deeper in the story when Lucy realizes she is about to embark on a terrifying and probably one-way transformative journey and phones her mom. The scene is shot mostly in tight close-up. That dialogue has a goofy prostitution bluntness. I remember the taste of your milk in my mouth. I want to thank you for 1,000 kisses that I can feel on my face. That scene is so brassily powerful that in retrospect I made me wish that main character had gone on a journey with more emotional gradation. Heck, I'd have settled for more than the two Besson designed to give us, oh my god, these guys want to kill me, and I am god, watch me kill these guys. When the hormones enter Lucy's bloodstream, it's as if a switch has been flicked. The heroine starts speaking in monotone and lettering her head at a looming man like a casual part regarding a worm that it's about to devour. She is women as Terminator. The Terminator is a great movie monster, but there's a reason why supporting character in the film that bear its name. Like many films by Besson, The Professional, The Fifth Element, The Messenger and other high-octane shots ups, Lucy starts out rewriting but becomes less engaging as it goes along. It keeps introducing potentially rich narrative vein and then failing to tap them. It too often falls back on a gunplay and gore, just what you think it might finally tap into the notation that it keeps serving up with such funfare. The fairness of the idea of uniqueness, the self-defeating nature of the species, more concerned with having that being time as the one true unit of measure. Nevertheless, Lucy is a fun, confident work. It's a fast and tight and a playful, even what it's static and violent, which is often it lasts about 90 minutes and shade but feels longer in a good way. Because every second is packed right, it's a full of itself, yet it still keeps viking at you. It wants to be taken seriously, but not so seriously that you don't laugh at. And with the sight of Lucy strolling into a gunfire wearing nosebleed heels or making enemies with it like manorites on the invisible string, the movie is alive, it pops. After her berserkerly out there performances and artificial intelligence being in her and come either extradiential and under the skin, Scarlett Johansson takes a logical next step into the title role of Lucy, an agreeable, goofy, high concept speculative, thrilled about the first human being to successfully harness 100% of our brain power. In no other sense, however, does the word logical apply to writer-director Luc Besson's turns to blockbuster form, which is to say this latest aggressively stylish self-consciously feminist, gratuitously globe-trotting pulp trash extravaganza, giddily recycling everything from 2001 A Space Odyssey and The Matrix to Yakuza actioner and National Geographic documentaries. It's a crisp, trippy, wildly uneven and finally quite disarming piece of work disgraced by a moment-to-moment unpredictability that will pique audience curiosity but may put off those who prefer their summer movies on the more conventional side. Although it represents a significant roll of the dice as the most expensive project even undertaken by the filmmakers, Overpop single Lucy should capitalize on its strong international element and Johansson's bank ability to become Besson's biggest worldwide hit as a director since The Fifth Element. No small feat from an FX-heavy original property in his our franchise day and age. And unlike that plot in 1997 debt-efficient juggernaut, the film managed to clock it into a surprising sleek and multiplex friends 88-minute and its absurd but elegant conclusion has the curious benefits of making its extravagantly silly entertainment seem somehow smarter and more enigmatic in retrospect than it does while it's unfolding. Curtailing the opening scene don't inspire much confidence that Besson is operating at anywhere near his full intellectual capacity, or that the aspect as much smart for his audience after a brief perihedratic flashback to the dawn of the human. The film quick deposits us in the present day Taipei, where Lucy Johansson, a hard-trying American blonde, finds herself lured into the web of a ruthless Korean crime boss named Mr. Jang, the splendidly villainous Choi Min-sik. This entire sequence is La Fabella, intercut with nature talk footage of a cheetah pouncing on their prey, just in case we fail to grasp our heroine's trapped condition. Terrified out of her mind, Lucy is forced to become a drug mole with a bag containing a highly potent synthetic substance called CPH4 sews into her stomach. When the bag bursts, Besson happily supplies a versatile close-up for inside. Lucy not only mercilessly survives the overdose but also begins to experience some unintended and not entirely unwelcome side effects. The reason soon becomes clear. Rather than being restricted to the use of a mere 10% of her brain, she is suddenly able to access 20% and then 30% and so on. An unprecedented feat whose implications are unpacked at some length by the Paris-based researcher Professor Norman. The well-documented fact that humans actually do use most of their brain managed to debug the movie's premise without in any way distracting from its loopy player. Lucy condition manifests itself gradually at first, then in ever grander and more antagonizing way. No longer cowering in fear, she is now an expert assassin who quickly frees herself and turns the table on her captors. Although she is largely immune to pain, her powers of sensory perception reach superhuman level of osity, a phenomenon visualized by Besson and his visual effect team as an endless network of data stream. Invisible to the naked eye, she absorbed vast quantity of data, especially foreign language, in record time and developed the ability to manipulate matter telekinetically, which as Lucy learned comes in pretty handy whether you are trying to disarm and open it or wave your way in and out of traffic. But even as her cognitive command increased, the film keeps upping her brawn percentage every 10 minutes or so. So does our awareness that she will not be able to survive much longer in the state, as her trillion of cells, each one now uniquely empowered, begin to behave in the manner of a rapidly masterizing cancer. One particularly dazzling GG sequence that's aboard in an airplane reveals our individual particles struggling to break free of their corporeal prison, and so not unlike the peasant hero of the 1950s noir's DOA, Lucy finds herself in a race against time and her own body. Traveling from Taiwan to France, visually speaking, that means from Taipei 101 to the Eiffel Tower, she is aided by the good professor and a bemused cop Egyptian actor AMR wept in her quest to bring her enemies to justice and also to use her superior knowledge for the good of humanity. On an almost admirable precepts level, Lucy is not really much of a thrill. It's virtually an anti-thrill devoid of suspense or any real sense of danger due to the fact that its heroine is more or less invincible. At times, it's hard to shake the sense that a smarter, more endurable picture might have found a way to slip the bonds of gender altogether. But if the movie fizzles some out as action, it's because Besson seems more interested in engaging playfully yet seriously with the various biological, philosophical, and metaphysical riddle that his story raises. Patently, Lucy gets a couple of elegant monologues in which to ponder such vitally made at the imperatives of our time. The preciousness of every moment that human tendency to patronize a feeling, overthinking, the depressing metaphor of human experience in general, and the fact that life gains meaning only with the passage of time. One reason loosely emerges an enjoyable nutty diversion rather than a self-important slog is that it pays deft, knowing homage to any number of Hollywood sci-fi head-trip classics, embedding in its ideas in its delaying labyrinth of cinematic references that somehow end up feeling sly rather than sharp-worn. In trying to locate mankind's precious position within the great cosmic order while also anticipating the literally mind-blowing next phase of human evolution. Besson film carries unmistakable traces of Part 2001 and the Tree of Life, some of it even take place in outer space. Lucy's gradual rise to omniscience and omnipotence recalls News on such journey in The Matrix, while her many black-suited Korean opponents suggest another army of Agent Smith, Asian Smith, and in those summits with Lucy upload herself Big Brother style to every computer and TV screen in the vicinity, the movie cannot help but suggest a livelier, less pauntier remake of this year familiar theme Transcendence. Not least among these allusions to other movies are the obvious sequels of Besson's own like La Femme Nikita, Leon the Professional, and The Fifth Element. Before it, Lucy is a sickly engineered showcases for a kick-ass heroine whom we instinctively unhesitatingly root for it. It also feels like a calculated bid for popularity with a younger American audience that may be unfamiliar with this particular Gallic matter maestro that taken movie he produced, notwithstanding. Currently, after the blind history lesson of The Lady and the joyless family-friendly shenanigans of the Arthur trilogy, this is easily the director's most large, energized, and recognizable piece of direction in a year. A movie that, with its muscular, widescreen imaginary, vibrant streak of color and pulsing musical beat as well as educational tonal missteps and moments of unconditional hilarities feel unmistakable like the work of its director. In the end, third, it's Johansson, our resident avatar of the other partly, who goes the further in bringing all the disparate elements together. In her, the actress gave rise to a higher, more sympathetic form of a consciousness, and in Under the Skin, he managed a tricky feat of regarding humanity through alien eyes. In some ways, Lucy represented the point of which both rules covered, and Johansson has the usually difficult job here of subtly conveying her character's observation, reactions, and central epiphanies in the mostly deadpan, flattened out register that comes only more subdued as the film progresses. Somehow she succeeds beyond all reason. Indeed, during the movie's luxurious bordering one sublime final minutes, marked by moving camera movement and a highly malleable sense of time. It's hard not to wonder if Lucy, fully free at least and with infinite possibilities at her fingertips, might be intended as a hopeful, Thilly-willed stand-in for Besson himself. Not for nothing, one suspect in the character's first name, but when later removed from his own. Donning a dodgy Russian accent with a skin-tight leather suit as the Avenger, Black Widow is reaping dividends for Scarlett Johansson. The actress must have benefited more from her works on the Marvel movies than any other member of the superhero ensemble save for Robert Downey Jr., whose work as an Iron Man transportation him into the perhaps with biggest box office star on the planet. Evidence of Johansson's rise profile was on display this weekend as the actress powered Lucy to a $44 million debut the third biggest female driven action opening for all the time. First and second place belong to Wanted and Lara Croft Tomb Raider, both starred Angelina Jolie, who may have a worthy successor in the Come Hither Glance and Gunplay department in Johansson. Avengers turns her into an action star, and that's part of the reason Lucy had so much success, said Jeff Borg, a box office analyst. With exhibitor relation, it's difficult for female to be an action star. You can count them on hand. Indeed, besides Julie and Mila Javik, the first list is unbeat. Those who have tried to carve a name for themselves, such as Green David with the long kisses goodnight, have failed to catch fire. But Johansson has skillfully mixed up her dance card, rotating smaller indie projects like the moody alien thrilled Under the Skin and breakout art house hit Chef, and the offbeat rom-com her with hourly commercial projects like Lucy and Last Spring's Captain America the Winter Soldier. Throughout her career, she is gravitated towards filmmaker-driven projects from the likes of Woody Allen, Spike Jonze, Christopher Nolan, and Lucy Lawson. That's a strategy that serves the like of Tom Cruise and Leonardo DiCaprio well. What a career she's got going right now, said Paul Regardbeard, senior media analyst at Denrock. She has been smart to align herself with great directors and to be choosy about the people she works with. Lucy, which features Johansson as a superhuman avenging angel, was the first big film she's had to carry on her own shoulder, and now that she has surmounted that obstacle, expect Hollywood to take notice. She is well respected in this acting community and she has delivered at the box office. She has got to have producer salivating, said Rock. Universal Pictures, which released Lucy, credited Johansson with bringing in a more diverse crowd. 50% of the opening weekend audience was female, a rarity of the male-oriented action genre. We know women were going to react well to this, said Nikki Rocco, Universal Pictures domestic distribution chief. It's helped that Johansson is a really good actress in addition to begin appearing as an action star. To be sure, other Avenger alum have profited from their time in the tide. Chris Hemsworth helped push Snow White and the Huntsman to 396.6 globally, and Mark Ruffalo is having a bonus year with his well-received turn in Begin Again and the upcoming Foxcatcher, but it is the Johansson who seems to have mastered the perfect mix of commercial hit and passion project. In 2015, it was announced that Lucy 2 was in development, but this movie has not come to fruition since then. Plans for Lucy 2 are still under debate. No update about the sequel have been released since 2017. In 2022, a spin-off series was announced with Morgan Freeman reprising his role of Professor Samuel Norman, but it has not yet been confirmed if Scarlett Johansson will reprise her role. A sequel of Lucy would be made possible if Scarlett Johansson were to return to the franchise. Her character was the main focus of the original story, and she proved her skill as an action star through her work in the movie. The main reason why Lucy was popular with the audience was down to Johansson's strong performance and powerful action sequence. If the sequence was to focus on another character other than hers, it would certainly not have the same draw as the original. Scarlett Johansson returning for Lucy 2 is difficult but not impossible. The ending of Lucy sees Johansson's character reaching 100% of her brain capacity before transforming into a supercomputer and leaving her physical form behind. She leaves behind a flash drive for Professor Norman and disappears into the space-time continuum. The movie offers a solid ending for Lucy, which makes it difficult to set up a continuation of her story in a sequel. Director Luc Besson has admitted in an interview that continuity Lucy from where it ended has the most difficult challenge for him. Despite the conclusion given to Lucy's story in the original movie, it could still be possible for Scarlett Johansson to reprise her role in Lucy 2. There is a possibility of having Johansson return as a voice of recreating Lucy's body and bringing her back physically. While these options are slightly convoluted and do carry the risk of undoing the ending of the original movie, a return for Johansson in the next Lucy movie could be possible. Lucy was a box office hit. If there's one factor that makes or breaks the chances for a movie to get a sequel, it's how it performed at the box office. In the case of Lucy, the final take from the theoretical run doesn't only justify Lucy 2, it makes it a genuine surprise it hasn't already been optioned. Lucy had a budget of $40 million and it has made his back on the opening weekend at the domestic box office alone. It went on to the gross over $126 million domestically and $342 million internationally, making it an undisputed hit for Universal Pictures via a box office mojo. Lucy tripled its considerable budget with ease, as a sequel could be considered a relatively safe bet for Universal. It really does seem that the only reason Lucy 2 has not arrived in the creative block for the narrative director Luc Besson has been struggling with should be director come up with a story idea satisfied with enough to pursue. It's highly likely Universal Pictures will fall at the chance to potentially have another movie in theater with a chance for the same box office success as the original. Possibly storyline for Lucy 2. Dr. Luc Besson has been open about its struggle with continuing the narrative being with the key a Lucy sequel has not materialized. However, there are a few ways the story could continue despite Johansson's character essentially becoming God by the time the credit rolled, when it's true that the story of Lucy was wrapped up neatly on a thematic level and was a definite ending for Lucy Wheeler as a character. The bodies laid the foundation of Stilron's exploration. The drug that gave Lucy her power, CPH4, is potentially still out there. Lucy may have been injected with the last three bags at the end of the Lucy, but it would not be that much of the scratch to retroactively reveal there was a greater supply of CPH4 than initially thought. Lucy Tooth could even see more of the drug manufactured, or perhaps even a more potent variant, CPH5 perhaps. A possible Lucy sequel could focus on somebody else inventing vast quantity of CPH4 is an attempt to gain the same power Lucy did in the original. This would lead to Lucy now in her ascent, godlike state having a rival presence should this power-hungry new character to be a malevolent one. The sequel to the Lucy star to write itself, it would essentially to be a tale of Lucy trying to ensure the same omnipresence she enjoys and wishes to use benevolently for the benefit of his life on earth isn't used as force of destruction. Another option is, of course, exploring the ramification of the presence of Lucy herself for the world. Having a tangible god-like being watching over the planet would be sure to ruffle a few feathers both among what government and the vicious religion. A story that examined that would happen if Lucy explored herself would be a great starting point for Lucy 2 and could make a Lucy sequel as thematically deep as the original. A sequel could make Lucy Scarlett Johansson a second most iconic character. Scarlett Johansson Lucy may be one of the Scarlett Johansson's most successful movies, but it's fair from her most iconic role. Like most of her fellow MCU stars, Johansson is most widely recognized for her role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as her performance across multiple movies in the franchise made Black Widow one of its most iconic characters. However, this has been a bit of a double-edged sword of the Lucy star, especially since she found herself at odds with Destiny after the release of the Black Widow solo movie. The fact her name has become synonymous with Black Widow is also a disservice to Scarlett Johansson's wider career. In addition to Lucy, Johansson has also starred in highly acclaimed films like Asteroid City, Jojo Rabbit, Marriage Story, The Pretake, and The Other Brilliant Girl, to name but a few. Her career is far from limited to the MCU, but due to the overwhelming success of the Avenger franchise, this has become the defining part of the legacy. Lucy 2 would give Scarlett Johansson a chance to set up out of the shadow of Black Widow and her time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Lucy is easily among her most commercially successful roles, and the sci-fi movie had a much broader appeal than some of the other project is. Turning Lucy into a serious lead by Johansson could end up being the note her career needs to change public perceptions and ensure Natasha Romanoff isn't the role she is the most widely recognized by the time her career comes to an end. Lucy too would give Johansson a chance to set up out of the shadow of Black Widow and her time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU). Lucy is easily among her most commercially successful roles, and the sci-fi movie had a much broader appeal than some of other projects are. Turning Lucy into a series led by Scarlett Johansson could end up being the nugget. Her gear needs to change public perception and ensure Natasha Romanoff isn't the role she is most widely recognized for by the time her career comes to an end. Now let's talk about the full cast and crew of the movie Lucy 2014. The movie is directed by Luc Besson. Writing credit goes to Luc Besson. Cast: Scarlett Johansson as Lucy, Morgan Freeman as Professor Norman, Choi Min-sik as Mr. Jing, Emmer Wicht as Peter Del Rio, Julia Rehintot as the Lemmy, Pilu Asbeck as Richard, Leo Tipan as Crowley, Nicholas Fonfitz as Jill, Paul Lefrage as French Mule, John Oliver as Shader, German Mule, Luca Angeletti as Italian Mule, Pierre Pidat as Professor, Perry Gremont as Professor, Portan Konimian as Professor, Pascal Lucen as Drug Addict, Perry Guerrer as Airport Doctor, Isabel Cagnet as Airport Nurse, Clary Tran as Flight Attendant, Bob Martet as Costume Officer, Alexis Richard as Cop Robert, Christophe Leaf as Cop, Renaud Castry as Student, Claire Zanillo as Student, Paul Chan as Taipei Surgeon, Frank Ame as Jack's Man, Sandra as Pretrotic Lucy, Laura Lebnin Adam as Lucy's mother, Si Jong Chio as Jang's lieutenant. The movie is produced by Virginie Basil Sela as producer, Mark Schumacher as executive producer. Music by Eric Serra. Cinematography by Thierry Arbogast. Editing by Julian Ray. Casting by Natalie Cheron. Production design by Hugh Tessadier. Art direction by Gilles Pilot, Dominique Moisson, Stephanie Robcon, Thierry Zimmer. Set decoration by Ilisong Evile Sandier. Costume design by Olivier Beatier. Makeup department: French Vitila as makeup artist, Christine Beverick as personal makeup and hair designer to Scarlett Johansson, Guy Boonell as special makeup effect artist, Christophe Sabnet as sculptor, Murphy as makeup artist, Shelby Ferry as special makeup effect artist, Mary Gimbard as makeup artist, Annie Marles as Wim Maker Scarlett Johansson, Stephanie Rupert as key makeup artist, Gasoline Tortilla as key hair stylish. Production management: Assistant Unit Manager are Perry Aklos, Adrian Andriaco, Corinne Arthro, Ronnie Avral, Sarah Bonnet, and Carly Siana. Cloud Efrel as Unit Manager from Taiwan, Ellie Glenn as Post-Production Manager, Thali Gelmard as Production Manager, Matthias Lepig as Assistant Unit Manager. Second Unit Director or Assistant Director are Ledvig Bernard as Second Assistant Director, Matthews Kolberg as Additional Assistant Director, Lucia Great as Second Assistant Director, Mary Rolandes as Second Assistant Director. Art Department: Pauline Berger Painter, Stephanie Billett Painter, Mariana Capdeville Painter, Charlie Clerk Assistant Art Director, Katya Spenda Assistant Art Director, Jackie Frankel as Painter, MD Azizul Hakim as Set Designer. Sound Department: Jeremy Bapinet as Foley Editor, Hartsey Bailey as fast assistant sound editor, Stephen Butcher as sound mixer, special effect by Blanc Punas as special effect technician, Jabal Federatic as special effect technician, Dennis Lee as head painter, visual effect by Jessica Locken, Jacobo Barley, Kevin Bill, Kevin Berger, Dion. Lucy ending. At the end of the Lucy, Scarlett Johansson Lucy information into a living computer and leave Morgan Freeman with the keys to taking the human race to the next steps of its evolution. Lucy is a 2014 movie written and directed by Luc Besson featuring performances from Scarlett Johansson, Morgan Freeman, and more. After Lucy is kidnapped and forced to traffic the experimental drug CPH4 surgically hidden in her own body, the bag is broken, flooding her system with the drug and allowing her brain to unlock new levels of consciousness. Initially, Lucy's abilities to manifest as higher levels of learning and intelligence, but as her brain changes even more, her connections to time and space continues to shift. By the time Lucy unlocks 100% of her brain ability at the end of the Lucy, she becomes something else entirely. Is Lucy scientifically accurate? The basic premise of Lucy is that human brain has far greater abilities that most people can access. While this is true on a number of levels, the notion that humans only use 10% of our brain was thoroughly debunked by a number of scientists, including an article at Journal Nature after Lucy's theoretical release. The notion that human beings don't utilize all of our cognitive potential has been a sentiment among philosophers and scientists for centuries. Although the specific 10% claim seems to have originated with lawyer Thomas forward to Dale Carnegie's book How to Win Friends and Influence People in 1936. The claim that humans only use 10% of their brain isn't only incorrect according to Imagine Scene and their semantic measurement, but it's also an entirely wrong paradigm to even use to measure cognitive capacity. While there's a time and energy constraint on what humans are capable of accomplishing in a single day, physical and cognitive accomplishment continue to excel throughout time. So to say only 10% of the brain was being utilized would imply knowledge of a fixed upper limit of human potential and where we currently exist within that limit, which could be impossible to know unless the day comes where humanity actually hits the hypothetical limit. When it comes to CPH4 miracle drug that unlock Lucy's potential, Lucy claims it a natural chemical produced in tiny amount by pregnant mother to help babies rapidly grow their skeleton and nervous system. But that's also not entirely accurate. CPH4 itself is an entirely fabricated substance, although there are special chemicals produced by mothers to facilitate ripple fetal development, just not any that are synthesized as a street drug, and currently not any that are known to unlock brain capacity in adults. Most processes that facilitate ripple development in fetuses or young children result in conscious growth when present in adults. Why didn't CPH4 affect anyone else the way it affected Lucy? CPH4 unlocked the unused 90% of Lucy's brain, but it worked very differently for her than it did for anyone else. The only other person to be shown consuming any of the product was the test subject in Chang's office. He only inhaled a small particle, and while it clearly had some sort of effect on him, Chang shot him in the head before any clear results manifested. Meanwhile, Lucy was exposed to CPH4 when the bag inside her stomach reported releasing a large quantity directed into her bloodstream. It was immediately clearly how it hit her differently since she levitated up the wall, which the test subject in John's office didn't do. If anyone in the test process has achieved any major cognitive boost, surely Zhang would have exploited it for his own purpose, if not before Lucy, then currently after. Surely other test objects used a small amount of CPH4 during the drug's development process, But based on how little CPH4 the best subject in Zhang's office took, it's likely they never saw even a hint of the kind of effects experienced by Lucy. Additionally, Zhang shot the man in his office who shot it just a single grain, and if that's indicative of how other test objects are treated, it makes sense that Lucy is the only one to achieve the states she did. If anyone in the test process had achieved a major cognitive boost, surely Zhang would have exploited it for his own purpose, if not before Lucy, then continually after. Why did Lucy become at 100%? Lucy gained more and more access to her brain's ability to through the movie, but when she reaches 100%, she becomes something else entirely. She had to sit there in a chair for several minutes as a shiny black substances covered her body and scratches out to all the computers and network compartments in the room, seemingly consuming them in the process. During this time, her body and mind completely change on a cellular level as the movie depicts cell combining and other changes happening on both a molecular and cosmic level as she reached her full potential. When she reached 100%, she completely dematerialized. Instead of asking what Lucy is at the end of Lucy, it would be more appropriate to ask where and when Lucy is. After Lucy was gone, all she left behind was a cosmic looking flash drive for Professor Normal. Del Rio also receives a text from her saying, "I am everywhere." Instead of asking what Lucy is the end of the Lucy, it would be more appropriate to ask where and when Lucy is. She has not simply transcended into a new physical being, she has seemingly transcended space and time altogether, leaving behind the cosmic flash drive like a miniature object from 2001, a swift odyssey to guide humanity on the next step of evolution. Lucy's ending true meaning. The opening scene of Lucy shows Lucy posted by some scientists as the first ever human based on a partial skeleton discovered in 1974. The scene has a voiceover from Scarlett Johansson, Lucy saying, "Life was given to us a billion years ago. What have we done with it?" During the ending of Lucy, as she prepared to reach 100% and begin to transit time and space, she goes to see the parahectoric Lucy and reaches out to touch her hand, launching into a cosmic version as Lucy sees the world rolled back, cells combine and the universe unravel in reverse before her eyes, ending with 100%. Lucy's voiceover at the end of Lucy saying, "Now you know what to do with it," is a charge for Norman and presumably the audience to push forward and extend the scope of human consciousness. At the end of the Lucy, Lucy has involved being in need of a human body and returned to the same question from the opening. Instead of saying life was given to us a billion years ago, now you know what to do with it. There's a few things going on in this moment. Lucy is passing on all the knowledge she gained from her evolution following her conception for the CPS4 onto Professor Norman, so humanity can evolve, but she may also be introducing a bit of the paradox, as one reading could suggest. She went back in the time to give the parahectoric Lucy a spark of intelligence, touching finger into reference of melodic, the creation of atom painting. As Lucy explained to Professor Norman, our concept of time is entirely determined by our limited ability to experience it linearly. So what someone who is hypothetically using the movie's logic, only utilizing 10% of their brain, would perceive as the paradox would appear entirely different to someone who would reach 100% utilization. Regardless of the reading, Lucy's voiceover at the end of the Lucy saying, "Now you know what to do with it," is a charge for Norman and possibly the audience to push forward and expand the scope of human consciousness. Did Lucy ending set up a sequel, and will one happen? The ending of Lucy didn't seem to set up a sequel, and with a decade gone since its release in 2014, there are still no plan for Lucy 2. Still, despite the ending closing of the story, there does seem to be some financial incentive as Lucy managed to make over $460 million on only $40 million budget via a box office mojo. With this in mind, it does seem surprising that Universal Pictures, that distributing studio behind Lucy, didn't option Lucy 2. Director Luc Besson has also been asked about a sequel to Lucy and his comments seem to rule on out. I don't see how we can do one. It's not made for that. If I find something good enough, maybe I will, but for now I don't even think about it. Besson's comments were made in 2014 via Collitor, and he followed them up in the 2017 with a Facebook post to confirm that he was not working on a Lucy sequel despite rumors at the time reporting that there was a script in development. Still, while the story of the Lucy was wrapped up nicely, there are some routes a sequel could go. For example, another person could use CPH4 to gain a similar amount of power, giving the godlike Lucy something of an antagonist to face off the future of humanity. While Lucy 2 seems to be in the work, there was a spin-off series announced in 2023. While details are still scarce, including potential release date and what the cast will be, it was revealed that Morgan Freeman is in talk to reprise his role. Should the series go ahead, then the story of the Lucy will continue after all. Lucy is a 2014 science fiction action film directed by Luc Besson. The movie followed the story of a Lucy played by Scarlett Johansson, a young woman living in Taipei, Taiwan. The plot revolved around Lucy inadvertently getting involved in a drug smuggling operation. The criminals surgically implant synthetic drug called CPS4 into her abdomen to transport it to Europe. Unlikely coverage in Taipei. In the vibrant city of Taipei, Lucy, a young woman played by Scarlett Johansson, inadvertently finds herself entangled in a criminal web, setting the stage for an unforeseen journey. The synthetic garlic CPH4. Lucy becomes the unwitting carrier of CPH4, a synthetic drug implanted into her abdomen by a group of drug smugglers. However, a rupture in the bag containing the substance triggered a remarkable change, unlocking the dormant potential of her brain. As Lucy's brain capacity expands, she gains extraordinary mental abilities including telekinesis, time manipulation, and heightened cognitive powers. A transformation that transcends human limitations begins to shape. In an effort to comprehend her evolving powers, Lucy seeks the guidance of Professor Norman, portrayed by Morgan Freeman, a leading authority on the human brain. Together, they embark on a journey of exploration and self-discovery. Simultaneously, the criminal organization relentlessly pursues Lucy, leading to intense and visually striking action sequences. The film balances psychological exploration with gripping confrontation. Lucy's journey becomes a race against time as her increasing detachment from her humanity propels her towards a climax where she approaches 100% of brain capacity. The narrative built towards a transcendental experience. Lucy delves into profound philosophical and existential themes, questioning the limits of human existence and the consequences of unlocking extraordinary powers. The films intertwine science fiction and philosophy to create a thought-provoking narrative, visual spectacle, and thought exploration. Combining stunning visual sequences with the thought exploration of human potential, Lucy is a captivating blend of science fiction, action, and philosophy that pushes the boundaries of cinematic storyline. The Lucy ending was basically a good. At the end of the Lucy, Scarlett Johansson Lucy transforms into a living computer and leaves Morgan Freeman with the key to taking the human race to the next steps of its evolution. Lucy is a 2014 movie written and directed by Luc Besson, featuring transformers from Scarlett Johansson, Morgan Freeman, and the other characters. After Lucy is kidnapped and forced to traffic the experimental drug, the name is CPH4, surgically hidden in her own body. The bag is broken, flooding her system with the drug and allowing her brain to unlock new level of consciousness. Initially, Lucy's ability manifests as higher level of learning and intelligence, but as her brain changes even more, her connections to time and space continues to shift. By the time Lucy unlocks 100% of her brain's ability at the end of the Lucy, she becomes something else entirely. Is Lucy semantically accurate? The basic premise of Lucy is that human brain has far greater abilities than most people can access. While this is true on a number of levels, that notion, the number of scientists, including an article at Journal Nature after Lucy's theoretical release. When it comes to CPH4 miracle drug that unlock Lucy's potential, Lucy claims it's natural chemical produced in tiny amount by pregnant mother to help babies rapidly grow their skeleton and nervous system, but there's also not entirely accurate.